Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for selecting my channel on the millions of YouTube channels that you have to choose from. And yes, we're going to visit a familiar subject with just a little twist. And I explore this wide world of fountain pens that we are fortunate enough to enjoy. And this is definitely one of the classier looking resins in my perspective. And it's in a familiar model, the Jinhao Centennial 100. Here's the eBay auction, and it is more than double the price of other versions of this Jinhao 100 pen, but it's the resin that makes it unique and makes it of interest and why it made its place in my collection. So we're going to explore this pen, compare it to other pens, compare it to other Centennial 100s, and hopefully you enjoy it as much as I do. We're going to just zoom in a little bit, say hi to Mr. Crab, and let's see if we can catch some of the many nuances of this resin. It is quite nice. It's like a stacked acrylic. I think that's the term that a lot of people use. We got some sunlight coming in. We got some LED light coming in. So we got a lot of lumens here. Mr. Crab winks and says hi. So the pen came delivered in a padded packing envelope, but when I opened up the pen, which was wrapped inside of this bubble wrap, I was very, very disturbed when I saw this yellow caution sticker on there, which I'm assuming don't accept if broken or pen is broken. So thankfully the pen arrived fine, but not something you want to see when you open up a package. So the package from eBay was in this standard orange Connects, which ships over in bulk, and then they put a last mile sticker on top, which sends it through the United States Post Office to me in New Jersey. So for those of you that may not have seen my other in-depth reviews, and we'll give you a link in the video description, the cap unscrews in a lot of turns, 2 3/4 turns. You have that standard black section, gold ring top and bottom. I got, as usual, a medium nib, and it has that 18 KGP, 18 karat gold plate, which is really, they got rid of it in one of the newer ones, one of the orange cracked ice ones I have. Just your standard injection molded plastic feed, which I find to work quite well. The pen fits well in the hand, as all dual-fold seem to fit well. And as all dual-fold designs generally have, it posts very high, not too secure. We have that interesting Chariot Jinhao logo at the top of the cap in kind of like a matte bronze color. You know, a very good size cap band there with Jinhao on it, nothing else. And it doesn't line up with the clip, but as we know, all these things unscrew, so I could easily line it up if that's what I wanted to do. A section unscrews, and those threads are good. You see how it spins off. I really like the fact that they put an O-ring there at the bottom, so when you tighten on the barrel, you get that nice feeling that it's good and snug. A nice large metal piece here at the end of the section. It's a standard Jinhao converter, nothing special, but they all work well. They're easy to take apart, so if there's a spring or a ball or anything in there that you don't like, you can take it out, and it's labeled on the converter. So we're going to show you this pen and disassembled in a more detail, but it's just a great resin. I'm happy I have it. We're going to rotate the pen with some light coming in from the side. Just wanted to show a little bit of a different perspective on this interesting resin. I have a little twirly machine coming. Hopefully that'll work well. So, what other pens do I have in this layered check acrylic pattern? Well, I have a couple others. These are some examples of I think the 3 different colors this check comes in. We have blue, which is a Moonman M600, and green, which is the first pen I got in this resin. Here's a pen BBS 456, and they called it Hidden Path. I call it the brown version. And here's a Kaigaloo in a blue resin, but it's different than the blue resin in the Jinhao. So I think that's interesting. I just find this to be a great resin to look at, to hold in your hand. And the differences between this blue and this blue are quite substantial. This has some brown in it, and kind of like the brown from this Pen BBS resin. The green is just very nice, clean green, just for some green and some black checks in it. So hopefully, if this is a resin that appeals to you, it comes in a variety of models. And maybe one of these will appeal to you. The M600 was much more expensive than the Jinhao Centennial, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Is it worth the extra almost $15 to $20? I'm happy with the Jinhao Centennial, but I'm also happy with the M600. But if I could only have one, and it was my money, I would buy the Centennial. This 456 was available for a limited time, obviously, as many pens are available for limited times through sale on Pen BBS. I bought it as soon as I saw it because the 456 is my most favorite model, and it was great to have it in one of my most favorite resins. Feast your eyes. I got motivated to dismantle this Jinhao 100 Centennial checkerboard pattern pen. And the main disassembly had to do with taking the finial off the top of the cap. And when we looked inside with the other Centennials, we saw this brass piece at the top of the cap, and it is slotted, and that holds down this metal ring, which has a cutout in it to accommodate the clip, and is screwed into this black finial. So it's a nice, interesting, clean design. This piece of metal, which may get in contact with ink, is brass, so it is fairly corrosion resistant. So that's how that comes apart. The finial at the back does not unscrew. You know, this is the classic section, which has been on a number of this type of dual fold designs that has a metal ring at the bottom. It's a substantial ring. And then this insert here into the plastic, it's glued in place, which accommodates this nib collar screwing in. And Jinhao has probably the coarsest threads of any of these nib collars. There's a nice O-ring there at the bottom, which is good. Your standard number 6 Jinhao nib. Nice two-tone design, and yes, the two-tone has stayed within the lines. The converter, this collar does pull off, but I wasn't in the mood to pull it off. Still recovering from surgery, so not any exertion is good. And the nib collar is also branded with the Jinhao Chariot. Let's bring in the LED and see how this resin looks under a different light. We have diffused sunlight coming in. I always just enjoyed this checker pattern design, checkerboard pattern. You know, there's some pearlescence in it. It's made of a number of layers of acrylic. I think there's a term for it, but not the top of my head. Yeah, the threading is done well. It's not anything different construction-wise than any of the other Centennial 100s. You just pay a premium for this resin. And there's that ledge in the top of the cap that seals up against the section. Yeah, that's where the section comes in. And the same with the barrel. I don't know where these resins are made. Some of them are made in Taiwan. Who knows where this one's made? Yes, the LED goes in and out. Have not worked on those contacts yet to clean it up. So we need to reassemble the pen, do some comparisons, and find a suitable ink. I do have one in mind. Here's my 4 varieties of Jinhao 100s, with the latest edition being the blue check. Then I got this very interesting green, dark green cracked ice, which I don't think I did a review or video on. I did 2 videos on this cracked orange ice pattern, and this is the original one I got, which is kind of like in an orange color, not red, not yellow, but orange. You know, it's a different color. Obviously, this has more yellow in it, at least according to my eyes. So these are all very, very well made, and they vary in price from under 15 US dollars to 40 US dollars. So that's the range. They're all the same finials, top and bottom. They all come apart the same way, and these are just very interesting resins, I think, to use in this dual fold design. And I'm happy with all of them. And we have some nice, interesting sunlight coming in, if I can keep the shadows off. And you can appreciate the amazing amount of different resins that Jinhao is using in the Centennial 100s. And I think it's the bargain currently on the internet if you like this style of pen. I haven't shown this green pen up close. As with all of the Jinhao Centennials, it's a beautiful resin. You know, it's finished very well. The only issue I've ever had with some pens is the threads are a little wonky. This one engages very well. It's multiple threaded, so I've noticed that some of the engaging threads engage not quite as well as the other ones, but this one works well. Again, that nice chariot metal medallion at the cap. Good plating. The logo on the clip. Yeah, there the band is lined up with the clip, but this one I haven't taken apart. So the blue one I took apart and I need to realign it. But it says, if those of you that love green pens, Penboy Roy, this might be one to add to your collection. So I did 3 fills, and that third fill really fills up that converter. It holds about as much ink as any converter you're going to use. This is the ink that I chose. Probably may have guessed it. I got a couple of these new Birmingham inks, and I'll give you a link to the review on all the inks, but this is just a nice blue with a phenomenal amount of sheen. Be interesting to see if that sheen is going to show up in the writing. And the chromatography shows that it's also a very nice blue, maybe this swab here shows a little bit of purple, at least to my eyes, but we'll see how it looks when we put nib to paper. Sheen machine. So we have some sunlight coming in. Yes, the cap takes more turns than it should to come off. We'll give you the section diameter. It feels good in my fingers. Threads you don't feel, no step up, so you can hold it anywhere. The pen is fairly light. We'll give you the weights. And no sense in talking about posting because we discussed that earlier. And this is not a pen I would post unless I had to do something with the cap. But let's see how that Tesla coil ink works in this Jinhao medium number 6 nib. And back to just some diffuse sunlight and LEDs. I don't like seeing shadows, so now I have a lighting source that eliminates the shadows. So the first thing I want to say is, wow. This is a wonderful nib. It's as good as the Kaigalu medium I recently talked about. So I'm just impressed with these new medium nibs coming out of China. They're great writers. And it could also be this Birmingham ink, just makes every pen and nib feel great on the paper. So now let's rate this pen. Hold on to your socks. We're going to give it a 9.8. 2 checks for the nib, 2 checks for the build, the design, the look. So why didn't you get a 9.9? Because I like the Kaigalu better because it has finials and section, the same material as the rest of the pen. Totally an aesthetics judgment on that, but it's my rating, my judgment. So I've been on a roll now with some great nibs to write with, and I'm very, very pleased with these Birmingham inks. They're just wonderful. And we'll look at some of the sheen that this ink gets on Toma River paper, and also the sheen on this writing I just did. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you can find a great pen ink combo that you really love and encourages you to write. Share your thoughts. Share them with yourself. Put them in a journal. Doodle, sketch, draw. It's all good. So I hope this video finds you safe, healthy, and happy. Enjoying your day, enjoying your pens. If we've reached the end of this video, that ink is wonderful. We're going to say bye until the next video. I have a few in the hopper. And yes, you need to keep the nib on paper.